Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Reichel, currently a sports writer for StatSalt.com, and this is the first installment of Scott's Selections, which will be a daily YouTube series in which I'll be covering various games across all the sports to try to find some value for all of you people at home so we can all make some money. Without further ado, let's get this underway by looking at the Friday card on March 9th. And I have two college basketball games that I've pinpointed, which I believe will provide a lot of value. So without further ado, let's get this underway. The first pick that I have is in the MAC, and it is between conference powerhouse the Buffalo and Bowling Green. And although a lot of people might be tempted to take the side on Buffalo, I actually like the over in this game at 161. I think that number is a little bit too low. Now, at first glance, you might think 161 is a pretty high total, and it is for most college basketball teams, but not for these two teams in particular. Specifically because of the fact that these teams had already played each other this season about a month ago, and Bowling Green actually pulled off that upset, but that's besides the story. The final score of that game was 92-88, which was a total of 180 points. So that's already 19 points above this current total that's posted based on how these teams have played before earlier this season. Not just to mention that, but there's also some trends that support the over between these two teams before I'll go into specifics with regard to why I specifically like the over. So for trends, the over is 4-0 in Bowling Green's last 4 road games. The over is 6-1 in Bowling Green's last 7 road games versus a team with a winning home record. The over is 5-1 in Bowling Green's last 6 games, and the over is 4-0 in Buffalo's last 4 games against a team with a winning record. The over is also 35-15-2 in Buffalo's last 52 games versus a team with a winning record above 60%. And the over is 75-35-1 in Buffalo's last 111 games following an ATS loss. Now, in addition to the trends and the first matchup, it's important to note that Bowling Green's defense is coming into this game on probably the worst performance in the entire season, where they gave up 91 points to Akron in a blowout loss in the team's last game. Now, I know some of you who might not be familiar with the MAC might be thinking that Akron is a decent offensive team like they have been in years past, but that is definitely not the case. Akron, as of right now, is averaging 68.9 points per game, which ranks 260th in the entire nation. So Bowling Green gave up 91 points to a team that's averaging less than 69 points per game. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, maybe that was because of a look-ahead spot where they knew they had to play Buffalo next and they weren't really focused, and I agree with that. But the problem is that even in a look-ahead spot, to give up 91 points to a team averaging less than 69 per game, that's not a lapse. That's a defensive problem. And I expect Buffalo to destroy Bowling Green in this game, similarly to the way they did in the first matchup. Even though they lost, they still scored 88 points, which would gladly put this game over the total, assuming that pace would hold. Now, it's also important to note that Bowling Green's offense is extremely solid, even though its defense is relatively porous, where Bowling Green is averaging 77.8 points per game, which is 50th in the entire country. Led by guard Justin Turner, is averaging 18.7 points per game on 48.3% shooting from the floor and over 38% shooting from the three-point line, along with Dylan Fry, who's averaging 12.6 points per game, and DiMaggio Wiggins, who's averaging 12.5 points per game, as well as 11 rebounds per game. Wiggins is a force in the paint. He provides Bowling Green with great floor spacing because Bowling Green loves to shoot the 3-ball while also being able to rely on Wiggins in the low block to isolate one-on-one in the paint, which helps explain why he's averaging a double-double throughout the entire season. It's also important to note that Bowling Green is a great three-point shooting team, as 4 of the top 5 scorers on Bowling Green are shooting over 35.8% from the three-point line. Bowling Green loves to get on a run. They love to shoot. And I think that this team, even on the road, should put up at least 80 points in this game just based on the style. So moving forward, I'll transition over to Buffalo. Buffalo, we mentioned Bowling Green's a top 50 offense. Buffalo's a top 5 offense, and they're averaging 84.9 points per game, which ranks 5th in the nation. But it is important to note that Buffalo at home is even better, and they're a top 4 offense in the country in terms of points per game at home. Led by guard C.J. Massenberg, who's averaging 18.7 points per game, along with 6.4 rebounds, while shooting over 48% from the floor and 41.9% from the three-point line. He is a force, and if any of you saw the first game of the season against West Virginia where he put up 30-plus by draining 3 after 3. You know this guy is a marksman, and he can put up points in a hurry. But he doesn't do this alone. He also has a lot of help from interior big man Nick Perkins, who has been fantastic this season. He's averaging 14.5 points per game, along with 7.4 rebounds, while shooting over 37% from the three-point line. Perkins is a rare big man in college who has the ability to dominate in the low block while also being able to drain the majority of his three-point shots while he's uncontested. Together, they are an unstoppable pick-and-roll offense between the two of them, where if you leave Massenburg, he'll make you pay by hitting it from the outside or simply driving to the lane. As a 78% free throw shooter, he can get to the line with ease and drain it. Or you have to pick your poison with Nick Perkins, who can hit a wide-open jump shot from the outside, or if you contest and you overcommit, he can blow right past you and convert in the paint. Both of them are tremendous players. They're also helped out by Jeremy Harris, who's averaging 13.2 points per game. But he's been extremely inefficient this season as he's shooting less than 41% from the floor. Mainly, I think Massenburg and Perkins should be able to do whatever they want against Bowling Green, who got absolutely torched by all of Akron's players in the team's last game. And both of these teams, the thing about a total over 160 in college basketball, you need two teams that love to run up and down the floor. And these two teams are extremely similar stylistically, even though Buffalo runs it significantly better than Bowling Green. Both these teams love to get out in quick transition, shoot a lot of quick three-pointers, don't really play much defense. Buffalo is better athletes, so they're more equipped to handle that type of style. But overall, both these teams are content with scoring over 85 points per game in order to win games. And Buffalo is averaging 85, which helps explain why this team is currently ranked in the MAC, and I think are a sleeper to make a serious run in the NCAA tournament. So these two teams, I don't expect much defense to be played. I think this game is going to get into the 170s, 180s once again, as I don't think either team is ready to step up that much defensively. And even if one of these teams does, if Buffalo holds Bowling Green to hypothetically 75 points, give or take, which is less than Bowling Green's average, I expect Buffalo to score at least 90, 95 points in this game, especially after the way Bowling Green played against Akron. Buffalo is a force, scored 88 points on the road in the first matchup. I think they're destined to score more than 90, so I like the over 161 in that game. The second game I'm looking at is between the Ohio Bobcats and the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Ohio is currently favored by 1, and that is the side that I will be suggesting for this game. Although Ohio is 13-16 overall, they're actually 10-5 at home, so they're a solid home team, and they're coming off this game off of a really close loss to Buffalo. And I know they're not supposed to get really excited after losses, because you play to win the game, but at the same point, this Ohio team has struggled all season long, and they gave Buffalo all they could handle in the last game by only losing by 3 points while scoring over 78 points. So I think Ohio comes into this game relatively motivated because of the fact that they were so close to upsetting a top 20 team in the country. Meanwhile, Miami, Ohio is 15-15, but they're just 4-8 on the road, so this is not a good spot for them. The team is also entering this game on a terrible run as they've lost 3 of their last 4 games and pretty much have nothing to play for, as the conference tournament will dictate their entire future in terms of what tournament, or if they will get into any tournament after the regular season and conference tournament is over. Now, Ohio doesn't have much to play for in the sense of their record because they're going to be relying on the conference tournament as well, but it is senior night at the Convocation Center, where senior forwards Doug Taylor and Gavin Block will be playing their last home games with the Ohio Bobcat program. Now, Doug Taylor and Gavin Block are both not huge contributors in terms of scoring, but they do other things extremely well. Doug Taylor, fourth leading scorer on the team with 8.2 points per game, 6.6 rebounds. He's shooting over 61% from the floor, so he's extremely efficient. But he's big on the defensive end as he's the premier shot blocker on this Bobcats team, as he's averaging 1.9 blocks per game. And Gavin Block is the fifth leading scorer, who's averaging 6.7 points, 2.1 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. He's a solid player. He's also shooting over 37% from the three-point line. Both of them aren't huge contributors. I could see both of them going for double digits in this game because there's going to be a lot of emotions involved for the two of them as they've spent their entire college career with this program. And I think that it'll be a very emotional scene in the Convocation Center, and Ohio will try to rally the troops to get them one last win. But Ohio's offense starts and ends, for the most part, with Jason Carter, who's leading the team with 16.2 points per game while shooting over 48% from the floor and over 35% from the three-point line. Assisting him is guard Tavion Kirk, who's averaging 14.5 points per game but he's been extremely inefficient this season. He's only shooting around 42% from the floor. He's got to be a lot more efficient moving forward, but it is the last home game of the season, so I expect Kirk to play well, and I expect Carter to continue to play efficiently as he has throughout the entire season. As for Miami, Ohio, they are led by Nike Sabandi, who's averaging 15.6 points per game, but he is extremely inefficient as he is shooting less than 40% from the floor this season at 39.6%. I cannot see him turning around suddenly shooting the lights out. Second leading scorer is Delonte Brown, who's averaging 11.8 points per game, but he's only shooting 42.7% from the floor. So it's not a good sign for me that a team that has nothing to play for, it's an in-state rivalry game, I'm sure, but Ohio will be more motivated because it's senior night. They have to go into a hostile environment, and their top two players are shooting less than 43% from the floor. That's not a good sign. Plus, they already beat Ohio at home by 20 points earlier this season. So I know that that's probably why the line is really low for Ohio, but I also love it from a revenge perspective. You have a chance for two players on senior night in one of the final games of the regular season to beat an in-state rival that embarrassed them earlier this season by 20-plus points. I like the side here. I'm going to take Ohio -1. I think the spread's a little too low. I think the spread should be in the 2 to 3 range. So I think there's a lot of value on the Bobcats. And those are going to be my two selections for Friday, March 8th. Just to recap, I like the Buffalo Bowling Green over 161 and the Ohio Bobcats -1 against Miami, Ohio. So that's going to do it for the first installment of Scott's Selections. If you like what you heard and you want to see more in the future, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. This will be something that occurs every day where I'll be trying to provide as much gambling content as I possibly can, where I will be looking at every betting card and trying to determine what I like regardless of whether it's college basketball or the NBA or any other sport. So with that being said, I hope all of you have a very profitable Friday night, and I hope all of you have a good, I just hope all of you, good luck, everybody.